After my wife left me for another man, I'm thriving while they struggle. My name's Alexander, and I'm 30 years old. I never imagined I would be telling my story like this. When I first married Emily, everything felt perfect. We were young, ambitious, and in love. I thought we could conquer the world together. But life isn't always as simple as it seems, and slowly, the cracks began to show in our marriage. It started a few years after we tied the knot. We had moved into a cozy little house, dreaming about starting a family. But the pressures of life quickly took their toll. Money was tight. Every month, we were juggling bills, trying to make ends meet. I worked hard at my job, but it never felt like enough. Emily wanted things I couldn't provide: a nicer car, designer clothes, fancy dinners out. She didn't understand that I was doing my best. The arguments began to pile up, each one more intense than the last. I remember one night in particular. I had just come home after a long day, tired and frustrated. I thought maybe we could enjoy a quiet evening together. Instead, I walked into a storm. "Why is it always the same, Alex?" she shouted, her voice filled with anger. "We never go anywhere nice. We never do anything fun." I felt my heart sink. "Emily, I'm trying. I work hard so we can have a future," I replied, struggling to keep my cool. "Future? What future? This is all we have. I'm sick of living paycheck to paycheck." She was shouting now, and I could see the frustration boiling in her eyes. Every argument ended the same way, with her storming off to the bedroom, leaving me alone in the living room, feeling defeated. I loved her, but I couldn't understand why she didn't appreciate what we had. I felt trapped between my responsibilities and her dreams. As the weeks turned into months, I began to notice other changes in Emily. She started spending more time away from home, claiming she was busy with work or out with friends. I tried to trust her, but a nagging suspicion crept in. Her phone became a constant source of tension. She would guard it like it was a secret. I found myself staring at her when she wasn't looking, wondering who she was texting and what they were talking about. One evening, I overheard her on the phone. I couldn't make out the words, but her tone was different. She sounded cheerful, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in a long time. My heart sank further. Was there someone else? The idea haunted me, gnawing at my thoughts. I wanted to confront her, to ask her directly, but fear held me back. What if I was wrong? What if I pushed her away even more? It was on a rainy Friday night that the tension boiled over. I came home to find her sitting on the couch, her face illuminated by the light of her phone. I could tell she was distracted. "Emily, can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She barely glanced up. "I'm busy, Alex. Can this wait?" My heart raced. "No, it can't. I need to know what's going on with us." She sighed heavily, rolling her eyes. "You always do this. Can't you just relax for once?" I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. Relax? I can't relax when it feels like you're slipping away from me. She shot me a look, filled with irritation. "Maybe you should just accept that things aren't perfect anymore." That was the moment I realized how much we had drifted apart. We were two people living in the same house but in completely different worlds. I felt helpless, and the feeling of impending loss crept closer. I thought things couldn't get any worse, but they did. A few weeks after that fateful evening, I returned home early one Thursday, hoping to surprise Emily with her favorite takeout. My heart raced with anticipation. I imagined a cozy evening where we could reconnect. Instead, when I opened the door, the look on her face told me everything I didn't want to know. She sat on the couch, her phone in hand, scrolling through something with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. My heart sank. "Emily, can we talk?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Not now, Alex. I'm busy," she replied without looking up. I felt a tight knot in my stomach. "It's important," I insisted. "I really need to know what's going on with us." With a sigh, she finally looked up. "We need to talk," she said, her tone now more serious. My heart raced, and I felt an eerie sense of dread wash over me. "Okay," I said cautiously, setting the takeout on the table. "What's going on?" "I want a divorce," she said flatly, as if she were discussing the weather. The world around me froze. "What do you mean? Why?" My voice trembled, panic flooding my senses. "I've met someone else," she replied, her eyes finally meeting mine. "He can give me the life I want, a life filled with excitement and luxury, things you can't offer." I felt the air leave my lungs. "You're leaving me for someone with money?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. It's not just about the money, Alex, she replied, her voice steady but lacking warmth. He understands me. He supports me in ways you never could. Her words cut deep, and I felt as if I had been punched in the gut. Emily, please, we can work this out. We've been through so much together. I love you. I'm tired of fighting, she said, shaking her head. I want happiness, and I don't think I can find it here with you anymore. I wanted to scream, to plead with her to reconsider, but I was left speechless. The love I had poured into our marriage felt like it was being thrown back in my face. How could she just walk away? I was filled with disbelief and humiliation. As she began packing her things, I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. Memories flooded my mind. Our wedding day, the promises we had made, the laughter we shared. How could everything we built come crumbling down so quickly? I felt like I was losing a part of myself. The room felt cold and empty as she moved around, gathering her belongings. I watched, helpless, as she placed photos, clothes, and little trinkets into boxes. Each item seemed to represent a moment we had shared, now tainted by betrayal. I wanted to reach out to pull her back, but my hands felt tied. Is this really how you want it to end? I finally managed to ask, my voice choked with emotion. It's what I need, she said, her voice flat. I'm sorry, Alex, but this is for the best. And just like that, she was gone. I stood in the empty house feeling hollow. The silence echoed around me, amplifying the pain that consumed my heart. I had lost my wife, my partner, my best friend. I felt like a ghost in my own life. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions, but nothing felt real. Friends reached out, trying to offer support, but I pushed them away. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to feel anything. I spent hours sitting on the couch, staring at the wall, lost in my thoughts. I found myself replaying the last few months over and over, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. I felt anger boiling inside me. How could she leave me for someone else? How could she throw away everything we had built? My mind raced with dark thoughts, and I began to hate her for what she had done. I wanted to move on, but the pain felt insurmountable. I walked through our neighborhood, memories haunting me at every turn. I passed the cafe where we used to sit and dream about the future. I saw the park where we had our first picnic. Each place felt like a reminder of what I had lost, and I struggled to breathe under the weight of it all. One night, I found myself sitting in the dark, staring at the floor. My phone buzzed, and I glanced at it, seeing a message from an old friend. I almost ignored it, but something pushed me to open it. He wanted to catch up, to see how I was doing. For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe talking to someone would help. I agreed to meet him for coffee the next day. As I sat across from him, I opened up about everything that had happened. It felt good to share my story, to finally let the pain out. He listened, nodding empathetically, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of relief. I know it hurts, man, he said, leaning forward, but you'll get through this. You're stronger than you think. His words lingered with me. Maybe I could move on, even if it felt impossible right now. As I walked home that day, I felt a little lighter. It wouldn't happen overnight, but I realized I had to take the first step towards healing. With every passing day, I felt a growing determination to reclaim my life. The anger I felt towards Emily began to transform into a driving force. I couldn't let her define my future. I knew I needed to take control, to focus on rebuilding what had been lost. After the divorce was finalized, I sold our house. It felt like a bittersweet victory. The memories that filled those walls now felt heavy, like chains holding me back. I wanted a fresh start, a place where I could rebuild my life without the ghosts of my past. With the money from the sale, I finally had the opportunity to pursue my long-held dream, opening my own car dealership. Cars had always been my passion, and I had spent years dreaming of running my own business. Emily had never believed in me, always worried it was too risky. But now, I felt an exhilarating sense of freedom. I could finally chase my dreams without anyone holding me back. I dove into the process, spending countless hours researching, making calls, and looking for the perfect location. It wasn't easy. I faced rejection and setbacks, but each challenge fueled my determination. I couldn't afford to fail. I needed this to work. After weeks of searching, I finally found a small space on a busy street. It was run down but had potential. I signed the lease, and as I stood outside, I felt a rush of excitement. This was my chance to build something of my own. I poured my heart into transforming the space, painting, cleaning, and setting up the showroom. It was hard work, but I loved every minute of it. I invested the rest of my savings into buying my first few cars. I chose models that I believed would attract customers, reliable vehicles that represented good value. Each car was a symbol of my hopes and dreams. When I opened my doors, I was filled with anxiety. Would anyone come? Would I succeed? The first few days were slow. I spent hours sitting in the showroom, waiting for customers who didn't show. I felt a pang of doubt creeping in, but I pushed it aside. I was determined to make this work. I started using social media to promote my dealership. I created ads, posted pictures of the cars, and shared my story. Slowly, people began to notice. I hosted a small opening event, offering refreshments and a friendly atmosphere. To my surprise, a crowd gathered. People were curious, and I felt a spark of hope. With every customer who walked through the door, I poured my heart into the experience. I was honest and dedicated, treating each person like family. As I closed my first sale, I felt a rush of pride. This was what I was meant to do. I was finally thriving. As the weeks passed, my dealership began to gain momentum. Word spread about my honesty and commitment, and people started returning. I built relationships with my customers, and their smiles fueled my passion even more. Each sale brought a new sense of accomplishment, and I started to envision what my future could look like. I began thinking about expanding the business. I wanted to hire a team and create a welcoming environment. I envisioned a place where customers could come not just to buy cars, but to feel valued and respected. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. My heart began to heal. One evening, as I locked up the dealership, I took a moment to reflect. I had come so far from the pain of my past. I had transformed my anger into motivation, and I was finally reclaiming my life. I felt proud of what I had built, and for the first time in a long time, I looked forward to the future. As I drove home that night, I felt a sense of hope blossoming within me. I knew I would rise from the ashes of my past stronger than ever. The scars from my divorce would always be there, but they would no longer define me. I was Alexander, and I was ready to embrace the journey ahead, ready to chase new dreams and build a life filled with purpose and joy. It had been a few months since I opened my dealership, and life was finally starting to feel normal again. I was busy, fulfilled, and focused on my work. But one afternoon, while I was at the dealership, my phone buzzed with a message from Tom, an old friend of mine. We hadn't talked in a while, and I wondered what he wanted. "Hey Alex, can we meet up? I have something important to tell you," the message read. Curiosity piqued. I agreed to meet him at a cafe nearby later that evening. As I sat there waiting, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What could Tom possibly have to share? When he arrived, he looked serious. I gestured for him to sit down, and he wasted no time getting to the point. "I heard some news about Emily," he said, leaning closer. My heart raced. "What about her?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Tom hesitated for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "I've been talking to some people, and it turns out her new boyfriend is in a lot of trouble. He's being investigated by the police for fraud." I felt a jolt of surprise mixed with satisfaction. "Fraud? What do you mean?" "He's been running a scheme targeting elderly people, scamming them out of their savings," Tom explained. "It's pretty serious. The police are digging into it, and I think they might arrest him soon." A part of me wanted to feel pity for Emily, but the stronger part felt a sense of relief. I had always known she was drawn to the wrong kind of people. Her choices had always made me wonder what she truly valued. Did she even think about what kind of life she was choosing? "What's she doing now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tom shrugged. "I think she's starting to realize she might have made a mistake. I heard she's been trying to get in touch with you, asking around. I don't think she's happy with him." The idea of Emily wanting to come back into my life made my stomach churn. After everything she had done, how could she think I would welcome her back? "I don't want to talk to her, Tom. I've moved on," I replied firmly, my jaw tightening. "I get it, but just know that she might try to reach out. I think she's scared of what's happening," he warned. The thought of Emily feeling scared or lost didn't bring me joy. but I couldn't deny that a part of me felt vindicated. She had left me for someone else, someone who was now facing serious consequences. I had spent so long feeling like the rejected one, and now it seemed like the tables had turned. "Do you think she'll actually come back?" I asked, trying to keep my emotions in check. Tom sighed. "It's hard to say. Sometimes people realize what they had only when it's gone. But you deserve better, Alex. Don't let her back in just because she's having a rough time." I nodded, grateful for his support. I had worked so hard to rebuild my life, and I wasn't about to let Emily's problems disrupt my newfound peace. As I drove home that evening, thoughts swirled in my mind. I imagined Emily calling me, begging for forgiveness. Part of me wanted to laugh at the idea. She had walked away without a second thought. And now she wanted back in? The next few days passed without incident, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Emily would reach out soon. I prepared myself for the possibility, reminding myself of how far I had come. I was no longer the broken man she had left behind. I was thriving, and I wouldn't let her back into my life without careful consideration. A week later, as I was closing up the dealership, my phone rang. My heart raced as I glanced at the screen. It was a number I didn't recognize, but something inside me told me it might be her. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello?" I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Alex? It's Emily," she said, her voice shaky and uncertain. Hearing her voice again sent a flood of mixed emotions through me. "What do you want?" I replied, keeping my tone cool. "I need to talk to you." "It's important," she said, desperation creeping into her voice. I felt a surge of anger and disappointment. "Important? You left me for someone else, Emily. What could you possibly say that would make any difference?" "I know I messed up. I was wrong, and now I'm scared," she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "Things aren't what I thought they would be with him." "Is that why you're calling me? Because you're scared?" I asked, my frustration boiling over. "You made your choice. You wanted excitement, and now you have it. Deal with it." "Please, Alex, just listen to me," she pleaded, and I could hear the desperation in her voice. "I thought I wanted this life, but it's all falling apart. He's not who I thought he was. I feel trapped." "Trapped?" I couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction at her predicament, but that quickly faded. "That's not my problem, Emily. You made your bed. Now you have to lie in it," I said, my voice firm. "Alex, I cut her off. "No, you don't get to come back into my life just because things aren't going your way. I've worked hard to rebuild myself, and I won't let you disrupt that. You chose this path." "I know, and I regret it. I wish I could go back," she said, her voice trembling. "Wishing doesn't change anything. You made your decision. It's time to face the consequences," I replied, feeling a mix of anger and pity. There was a long silence on the other end. "I just wanted to talk," she finally said, her voice small. "I thought maybe—" "Maybe what? That I would welcome you back with open arms? You hurt me deeply, Emily. I've moved on," I said firmly. "I understand. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry," she said quietly. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Sorry isn't enough. You broke my trust, and I can't just forget that. Please don't contact me again," I said, my voice steady. With that, I hung up the phone, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. I had said what I needed to say, and I wouldn't allow her to pull me back into her chaos. As I stood there, staring at my phone, I realized I was finally free. Emily was a part of my past, and I was ready to embrace the future, no matter how uncertain it might be. I was Alexander, and I had my life ahead of me. As the months rolled by, my dealership flourished beyond my expectations. Business was booming, and I felt a sense of pride every time I walked through the doors. I had built something from the ground up, and it was a testament to my hard work and resilience. Each sale, each satisfied customer, added to my growing sense of purpose. I was thriving, and it felt incredible. One Saturday afternoon, I decided to take a break from work and attend a local community event at the church down the street. It was something I hadn't done in a long time. The church had always been a place of comfort for me, and I hoped to meet new people and reconnect with my community. As I entered the hall, I was greeted by the warm smiles of familiar faces. It felt good to be back among people who cared. The event was lively, filled with laughter and conversation. I wandered around, chatting with friends and enjoying the atmosphere. Then I noticed her. a woman with bright eyes and a warm smile, helping organize refreshments. Her name was Sarah. She looked to be in her late 20s with a friendly demeanor that drew people in. I felt an unexpected spark of interest. As I approached her, I could feel my heart racing slightly. "Hi, I'm Alex. I haven't seen you around before. Are you new to the area?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Hi, Alex. I just moved here a few months ago," she replied, her smile widening. "I love it here so far. The community feels so welcoming." We chatted for a while, and I found myself drawn to her warmth and kindness. There was something genuine about her that made me feel comfortable. I learned that she worked as a teacher, and we bonded over our shared love for helping others. We laughed and exchanged stories, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of joy blossoming inside me. As the event continued, I found myself stealing glances at her, enjoying the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed. It felt good to connect with someone who didn't carry the baggage of my past. Sarah treated me with respect and kindness, and I couldn't help but feel hopeful about the possibilities. After the event, we exchanged numbers, promising to keep in touch. I walked home that day with a lightness in my step, feeling as if a new chapter was beginning. I hadn't realized how much I needed connection until I met Sarah. Over the next few weeks, we spent more time together. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, and every moment with her felt like a breath of fresh air. We explored the city, visited local cafes, and even attended a few church services together. I found myself smiling more and more, and the shadows of my past began to fade. One evening, as we walked through a nearby park, I decided to open up about my experiences. "I haven't always been this happy," I admitted. "I went through a tough time with my ex-wife. It was hard to rebuild after that." Sarah listened intently, her expression filled with understanding. "I'm really sorry to hear that, Alex. It's brave of you to share that," she said softly, "but it's inspiring to see how you've turned things around." Her words meant a lot to me. I felt comfortable sharing my story with her, and it helped me heal even more. "Thank you. I didn't think I could ever feel happy again, but meeting you has changed that," I said, looking into her eyes. We continued to spend more time together, and I felt a deepening connection with her. I admired how she treated everyone with kindness and compassion. She made me feel valued, and I began to dream of a future with her. One night, as we sat on her porch sipping hot cocoa, I looked at her and felt overwhelmed by emotion. "Sarah, I really like you. You make me feel alive again," I confessed. "I know it's soon, but I can see a future with you." Her face lit up and she smiled warmly. "I feel the same way, Alex. You've shown me how wonderful it is to connect with someone genuinely. I think we could have something really special." In that moment, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I realized that I was ready to embrace love again, ready to build a life with someone who truly cared for me. It was a new beginning, and it felt right. As our relationship blossomed, I began to envision a life filled with love and support. Sarah and I talked about our dreams and aspirations, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Together, we began planning for the future, discussing everything from traveling to starting a family one day. It was thrilling to think about what lay ahead. One evening, as we strolled through the park, I paused to look at her. "You've brought so much joy into my life. Thank you for being you," I said, feeling a rush of gratitude. "Thank you for allowing me into your life, Alex. I can't wait to see where this takes us," she replied, her eyes sparkling. As we walked hand in hand, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had finally let go of the pain from my past and opened my heart to the possibilities of love again. I had learned that life was about resilience and growth, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. With each passing day, my dealership continued to thrive, and my relationship with Sarah grew deeper. I found myself dreaming again, dreaming of a life filled with love, laughter, and shared adventures. The shadows of my past had receded, replaced by the bright light of new beginnings. I knew I was on the right path. Life had its ups and downs, but I was no longer afraid. I had weathered the storm, and now, as I looked to the future, I felt hopeful. I was Alexander, ready to embrace the journey ahead, with a heart full of love and dreams just waiting to unfold. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next video. See you next time.